Hey guys, it's Madison and welcome back to my channel. So I haven't been uploading any videos in the past school year because I've been really busy, but now that it's summer, I have so much time on my hands that I can read and make a lot of videos for you guys. And also because of quarantine, all the local libraries have been closed, so I can't check out any physical books. And so I've basically been running out of books to read in my house. I thought this is the perfect opportunity to buy new books. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on new books because the costs can really add up once you buy a lot of books over time. And so I turned to Book Outlet. And for those of you who don't know, Book Outlet is a website that sells discounted books that are returns or are excess inventory from publishers, and they're marked with either a small dot or line somewhere on the book. All the books are in very good condition and they're very cheap. So I got 12 books off of Book Outlet for just over $35, which is insane. And there's free shipping. And you can use my link in the description to get $10 off your first order on Book Outlet. As I go through each of these books, the price that I paid for them will be displayed somewhere on the screen. And you will see that all these prices are so low. They're like $1 to $4 per book, which is absolutely insane. The first book I got off of Book Outlet is Free to Fall by Lauren Miller. It's set in a futuristic world where everything is run by Genosis, a technology-based company that creates a bunch of apps for people to use, and one of their apps is called Lux. Lux optimizes decision-making for every person. So for example, the app tells you where to eat, who to date, and who to make friends with. The protagonist, Rory, follows Lux religiously, just like everyone else she knows. Then Rory goes to her new elite boarding school and she finds out from the app that she's on the path to the future that she desires. But she notices that something about the school seems off, and then she meets North, a guy who doesn't even use Lux at all. As Rory gets to know North more, she begins to fall into North's way of life and she begins to distance herself from using Lux. And she also decides to start listening to her own voice, which everyone has told her not to do for her entire life. Throughout the whole story, Rory is pulled between society's standards and her own wishes, and this can uncover secrets of the past that no one saw coming. I'm really interested in the futuristic dystopia genre, and I'm very excited to read a new book in that realm. And I can never get enough of a character that's pulled between two sides of the story that could ultimately decide her future. And this story seems like a very nice twist on the typical dystopia story. Next is Everything That Makes You by Mariah McStay. This is a contemporary YA novel that branches out from the question, what if? This story focuses on one girl with two possibilities in life. The first girl, Fiona, is physically and mentally scarred from an accident in her childhood, and she is a quiet shadow of a person, and she doesn't want to hide her true self from the world anymore. The other girl, Fi, is the best lacrosse player in the state, and she's getting a full ride scholarship to college. But then something happens that could possibly ruin her reputation and her future for good. Each girl deals with their own struggles, and they may not be so different after all. This story sounds very compelling, and I've never read anything like it before. And I also wonder how the story is formatted, like if there's switching perspectives every chapter, or if the first half of the book is in Fiona's perspective and the second half of the book is in Fi's perspective. And I'm also very excited to see where the author takes this story. The next book I got is Fireworks by Katie Kuntingo. This book is a contemporary YA novel set in the late 90s in Orlando, Florida. The book focuses on two best friends, Olivia and Dana, and they're both competing to become the best new pop star. Then one day, both of the girls are discovered by a producer, and Olivia's desire is to be in the spotlight and to become famous. But Dana doesn't really seem interested in the spotlight at all, and she doesn't want it. But as they're training to become pop stars, the girls' relationships with each other and towards fame change. Suddenly, it becomes a race to become the sole girl left in the spotlight. This book seems like a very fun summery read with maybe a bit, or most likely a lot, of drama. And the cover also stood out to me, and yeah, it's very pretty. I like it, and I'm very excited to read this book. Next is Heart of Thorns by Bree Barton. This is a fantasy YA novel that talks about a 17-year-old girl, Mia Rose, who has pledged her life to hunting Gwayrich. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but it's basically women who can manipulate living things. But it turns out that these animals are not actually women, but they're demons. The same demons that killed Mia's mom. There's a sudden turn in Mia's life involving a possible marriage to a prince, and this forces Mia to abandon her life of hunting and adopt a face of royalty. But then, on Mia's wedding night, she discovers that she has the exact same dark magic as the demons she's sworn to destroy. This book seems really interesting, and the aspect of forbidden magic is so cool. And the synopsis in general just sounds very intense and interesting. And this is also the first book in a trilogy, so I can get to know the characters over the course of 3 books and really dive deep into this new world. Next is All the Truth That's in Me by Julie Berry. This is a historical fiction / mystery novel that focuses on 2 girls who disappeared 4 years ago. But then 2 years after their disappearance, only one girl returned. This girl, Judith, is unable to speak, and she finds herself an outsider with her friends and even in her own home. And since she's an outsider in her own home, she can't really talk to that many people. So she begins to find comfort in one of her childhood best friends. And suddenly the town is attacked and long-kept secrets unsurface. And Judith is torn between her past and present, and this could ultimately alter her life and the lives around her forever. I haven't explored much of the mystery genre, and I remember when I was younger, I read a lot of the Nancy Drew books, and I loved those. So I really hope that I can rediscover my love of mystery books through reading this. Next, I got The Unlikeliest by Carrie Firestone. This is a contemporary YA novel set in Sadie's summer before senior year of high school. And Sadie expects this summer to be very boring without her best friend there, who's going off to college. And then one day, completely out of the blue, Sadie rescues a baby, and this rescue happens to be caught on video, and then the video goes viral overnight, ultimately changing Sadie's life forever. With this newfound fame, Sadie decides to join a group of homegrown heroes, and with this group, they decide to turn the town's wrongs into rights. They kind of deal with this problem of, can they solve problems without creating new ones? So this seems like a very summary read. What the characters do seem inspiring, and it also sounds entertaining, and the cover is very eye-catching. There's a lot of bright colors, and it kind of just screams summer with all of the ice cream and popsicles. Next is Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. This is a science fiction space novel that is set in the future in space. So I guess the 2 main countries, or the 2 main planets that we're exposed to in the synopsis is Genesis and then Earth. Noemi is a soldier of Genesis, and she would do anything to protect her planet. But then the people on her enemy planet, Earth, consider her a rebel. The other character, Abel, he's a machine that's abandoned in space, and he's evolving. Abel wants to be free, but people on his home planet consider him an abomination. So throughout the story, Noemi and Abel have to work together, even though they're enemies of an interstellar war, to stop the fighting. And in this process, they'll unsurface many hidden truths from both countries. This book has been on my want-to-read list for a while, and I read Gray's other books in the Firebird series, and I love that, so hopefully I will love this series as well. And the covers are also very beautiful. I mean, just look at it. It's so pretty. Next is Jane Unlimited by Christian Cashore. This is a fantasy / mystery novel that focuses on a girl, Jane. And Jane is raised by her aunt, but then her aunt suddenly dies, leaving Jane directionless without a plan in her life. And then one day, an old friend of Jane's aunt invites Jane to this gala at an island mansion. This gala is something that everyone wants to go to, and Jane happens to be one of the people that's invited this year. And this mansion will provide Jane with 5 choices that could alter her life. Jane can fall in love, she can die, and anything in between. So anything is possible in this house. I've had this book on my radar for a while, and I read Cashore's other series, Gracelyn, and I loved Gracelyn, but then I kind of fell out of love with Fire and Bitterblue. I didn't really like Fire that much, and I DNF'd Bitterblue, but I loved Gracelyn, and I'm willing to give Cashore another chance to redeem herself with this novel. And the story in general sounds very interesting, and I've never heard of anything like it before. Next is Glitter by April Lynn Pike. This is a historical fiction / fantasy novel set in present day, but inside the Palace of Versailles, everyone acts like it's the 1700s. And of course, there's technology integrated into the palace to make the court more lavish, and there's anything that people could want in the palace. The main character, Danica, witnesses the king murdering someone and then blackmails the king into making her the queen. But Danica doesn't want this. Only Danica's mom does. And so Danica's mom forces Danica to blackmail the king to make Danica the queen. Danica's only ticket out is to sell glitter, this highly addictive drug that sells for a lot of money. And Danica has to sell as much of this as she can within 6 months to escape. Danica begins to fall in love with her drug dealer, and this secret is just begging to be let out. So I have never read a book like this before, and the plot sounds very interesting. I'm very interested to see how the author deals with a book set in present day with some historical elements mixed in as well. Next is What I Lost by Alexandra Ballard. This is a contemporary YA novel that focuses a lot on mental health, specifically eating disorders. 16-year-old Elizabeth is dealing with a restrictive eating disorder, causing her to lose many things, many of them bad, including relationships with her family, boyfriend, and friends. She also lives in a treatment center for girls with eating disorders, and it also doesn't help her recovery when her mom also may have an eating disorder of her own. And then one day, Elizabeth begins to receive packages from an unknown sender. This could be her ex-boyfriend, a secret admirer, or it could just be a cruel trick that someone's playing on her. So obviously this book focuses a lot on mental health and eating disorders in particular, and I want to read this book because I've known people with eating disorders, and this could give me a possible window into their experience. And I know that not every experience is the same. This will probably only give me one perspective, but reviews of this book say that the author's perception of the eating disorder is very accurate, and overall in this book I just want to learn more about mental health through the lens of an intriguing story. Next is Ink, Iron, and Glass by Gwendolyn Clare. This is a historical fiction novel that focuses around writing stories. So with a pen and paper, a special person can bring stories to life using scriptology, a special form of science. The main character, Elsa, comes from a written world, and her mother, a scriptologist, wrote her world into existence. And her mom constantly updates the world to include many new things. But then suddenly, Elsa's mother is kidnapped, and Elsa must go to the real world and use her scriptology skills to find her lost mom, and to save her entire world as she knows it. The idea of written stories coming to life is just very interesting, because I would love to see some of my favorite series actually be a reality. That would be really cool, and I'm interested to see how the author explores this topic in the book. The cover also stood out to me right away. I mean, it's beautiful, just look at it. The last book I got off of Book Outlet is The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. This is a fantasy/historical fiction novel set in modern day New York, where magic is almost completely gone from society. The only place where you can find magic is in the mages, and they're hidden away and sheltered from the public eye. These mages cannot enter Manhattan, or else they will be trapped by this dark barrier of magic called the Brink. And if they step into Manhattan, then their magic will be stripped and they'll be stuck on the island forever. And many of the mages who have done this before, they've died. Esta, the main character of the book, I think she's a mage, I'm not really sure, but she's a thief that steals magical objects from the Order that created the Brink. I think she's a mage because she has the ability to manipulate time, which is very interesting. And so Esta's main job is to go back to 1902 to steal a book about magic. Esta has to steal this book before the magician destroys it and dooms the mages forever. The plot seems very interesting, and I love a good magic system. I'm very excited to see some time travel in there, and this is also the first book in a trilogy. All of these books are huge. This book is 500 pages. The second book is 700 pages, and the last book, which it's either coming out at the end of this year or in 2021, it's over 900 pages. But I like big books. They're nice, and I get to stay in the world for a long time. So those are all the books that I got from Book Outlet. All the books are in very good condition, even though there are a few folded corners, and there are some stickers on the books. Like this book came from Target, and there's a sticker that I'll have to take off. This book also has a sticker that came from Walmart, but the sad thing is that this book has a sticker inside the book, so it blocks some of the words, and that's a little disappointing, but come on. This book was $2, so who really cares? I'm very excited to read all of these books, and once again, you can use my link in the description to get $10 off your first order on Book Outlet. This video is not at all sponsored by Book Outlet. I just want to spread the word about their company because they have really good quality books for not that much money. Building your own library is very expensive, and this is just an easy way to get more books for low price. So that is all I have for this video, and I hope to post more in the future this summer because I have so much time, like I said before. And yeah, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.